Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to part two, part three of my King Kull review. Man, I'm going to review or go over the next two stories, which were the Black Abyss and DELCARDES' Cat, both of which I'm rather disappointed in. Now, mind you, both of these stories were more or less written by Lin Carter more than Robert E.Howard. Both of these were mere fragments taken by Lin Carter, and he did the best he could, which is not really saying a lot. Sorry, Lin. I know he's a popular writer by a lot of folks, but not this time. Whew, these two were just hot garbage and dog water. Take your pick. Let's get started. Black Abyss starts with Brule yelling for Kull to come help because one of his friends, one of his Pictish friends, disappeared out of a chamber that he and that Brule and a couple of his friends were drinking, partying, telling stories, whatever. And suddenly one of them disappears, and apparently it was like through a secret door that was closing, and the other compatriot of Brule's shoves his sword in there to block the door from closing all the way, and Brule runs to get King Kull, and they come back, and unfortunately the warrior with the sword in the door is dead with like a gold dagger in his chest, but he was like listening. You could tell he was somehow listening to something while he was killed, and they never really go back into that, why that was a big deal. So they pry open the door and go down the spiraling stairway to find a nude minstrel that they mentioned briefly earlier on, I think, just so that they could bring him in here, who was sitting on an altar that has their kidnapped friend all tied up and tortured almost to death, piping away Cthulhu style, trying to make some weird supernatural music while a dancing girl famous throughout the lands is dancing while a bunch of other cultist members are kind of having an orgy thing going on, and Kull and Brule run in and kill just about everybody, including the friend on the altar because he'd seen too much and been tortured too much. Mind you, he's only on the slab for like 45 minutes, but he's ruined, so they got to kill him too. Right before the giant thing that the minstrel was summoning, which was this ancient Cthulhu-esque thing, even named Zog-Thulu. Just awful, awful name. I'm going to have to steal it because it's that awful. And this big worm creature comes in. He was going to eat, the sacrificial victim. But, of course, Kull and Brule kill this thing that nothing else had been able to kill in thousands of years of being summoned and whatnot. But in the killing of it, they realize that this poor, miserable, misunderstood worm wanted to die anyways because he's been alive for thousands and thousands of years. Just a miserable existence. I'm like, really? We're going to do that? No. You make it a big slavering monster that wants to eat everything and loves its job, and it deserves killing, not like feel sorry for the big, giant, misunderstood, Cthulhu worm creature. Then on to the next story, which was, let me get it right, DELCARDES' Cat. DELCARDE is a minor noble woman of some beauty that Kull's just not interested in, and it says it in a weird way that's kind of whatever. But she has a talking cat, or supposedly she has a talking cat. This guy named Two, I think was his name. An advisor says, "Oh, it's a trick. Don't believe it. It's some sort of, shenanigans, mummery." And Kull's thinking kind of the same thing, so he questions the cat. And over the course of days and weeks or whatever, he finally believes that the cat's a real talking cat, an ancient cat, thousands and thousands of years old, been all over the world, done all kinds of things, and yeah, and she wants the DELCARDES wants permission to marry a pirate, and everybody's no, you can't do that, and Kull, marry whoever you want, I don't care, you have my permission. And so that's part of her motivation that comes in later. And one day, Brule's missing and nobody knows where he is. So Kull goes and asks the cat, "Where's Brule?" And Brule, the cat tells Kull that Brule is at this lake, at the bottom of this lake, fighting for his life. This lake that nobody else is allowed to go to except the king. And so Kull rushes off to go rescue his friend at the bottom of the lake. And going there, he jumps into the lake to search around, and he fights and kills a 4-armed shark man, 2 giant sea spiders, and another creature that I can't remember. And then gets attacked by the 4th or 5th monster, which is a sea serpent that wraps him up and drags him to this underwater city ruled by another king. And the Kull and this king meet, and they're like, "Hey, you're a king, I'm a king, let's be buddies, shake hands." And and Brule's never been here, we don't know what you're talking about. Kull believes him, promises to make sure nobody ever comes to the lake, which is what the king wants. Don't let anybody come down here and bother us, which I thought nobody was allowed to go to this lake because only the king can go. But the king is real adamant, don't let anybody come down here. And they get Kull a ride back home to the surface with another sea creature. and Kull goes back to the palace to find a bunch of turmoil going on, people yelling and shouting, and DELCARDES has been carted off to the torture chamber, and Tu is insistent that it's all her fault, she's to blame. And Brule eventually comes back, and on his way back he stops by and brings the girl from the torture chamber, and to prove that I don't know, that he knew what was going on the whole time. It was just like, what? Why would he do that? And then it turns out that the cat couldn't talk, of course. The cat's had a slave that would constantly groom it and take care of it. But it turns out the slave was actually a very potent wizard who was using ventriloquism and illusions to make the cat talk. But somehow that guy got kidnapped and thrown in a room, like tied up and bound and thrown into a room in the throne room, a secret door kind of thing. And it turns out that the real culprit was Thulsa all along. He pretended to be the slave, and he was tricking Kull to go down to the lake to get killed. Just what? And then Brule stabs him as Thulsa is just walking away, saying, "Oh, you beat me this time. I'll be back next time. Curse you, He-Man." It was just like, this is just dumb, just poor writing. And then Thulsa, after congratulating Kull and winning this time, he walks through a doorway and teleports. It's like, what? Was it even a teleport? It was probably just an illusion, invisibility. And that was it. It was just like all that. It just awful. Just really, really, really awful. Possibly one of the worst stories I've read in a very, very long time. And which is funny because the best part of the story was the cat, and the way the voice of the cat, the way he wrote the voice of the cat is, really clever. And you want to believe, oh, it's a talking cat. This cat's been around for thousands of years. No, it's just a really old cat. The end. But I'm going to power through the rest of this book, and hopefully it'll get better. I want to believe, because the first couple of stories were really good, and then Lin Carter just did the best he could, and that's really not saying much. But there you have it, folks. I need to go read something good for a little while. I'll come back maybe Wednesday morning with the next story or two. Just wish me luck, fingers crossed. But that's what I've got for you for now. But I'll be back in about 30 minutes with a little PSA about the channel. And yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go scrub my eyes or something. Maybe just watch some YouTube shorts or something to get this nonsense out of my mind. But I will see you guys later on. You guys have a great day, and as always, happy trails.